Hello. It's been a second since I've last talked to everybody here. Um, and I thought I might give you guys a little sort of gear review since we're all cooped up right now. It's the middle of March. Which, of course, if you're in Pennsylvania or much of the United States, means that we are in a quarantine or an isolation, more or less, right now. So, I don't have school anymore. Well, I do. It's moved online as opposed to being in person. So I thought, what better way to use my time than by talking about a piece of gear that I've had for about a year and a half, maybe. I am, of course, talking about the Nikkormat FTn with the 50mm 1.4 Nikon Nikkor S prime lens. This is a non-AIS lens, which means it's got the little bunny ears on it. That's used for aperture indexing for the light meter inside. Yeah, I've had this for a little over a year and a half maybe, and in that time I've shot dozens of rolls through it. I mean, this is my workhorse for my film work, and with this lens, it's fantastic. You know, it was originally marketed as sort of a consumer level or prosumer level camera, as an alternative to the Nikon F, which was Nikon's flagship at the time, and yeah. I mean, this thing is great. It has flash sync for both manganese and xenon. I've used the flash on this before. It works like a charm. It syncs up to 1/25th of a second, which I believe at the time was pretty not standard. It was a little faster than the 60th of a second, which was standard in most SLRs. It has a depth of field preview button right up here. It shoots up to 1/1000th of a second. I have film in here right now. It's I think it's ultrafine extreme 400, but yeah, it shutter speeds range from bulb to 1/1000th. I think my shutter speeds of 1 second through to 1/8 of a second are a little bit slower. They're these cameras are old now, so the slower shutter speeds or the longer shutter speeds are starting to get a little bit rough. They're starting to not really be accurate anymore. But yeah, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about kind of what I use this for. Some of the shots that I've taken with it, and really just kind of about the camera itself. So the camera has a split prism focusing mechanism in there. So instead of like some cameras I've used have a textured focus finder, which I always thought was a little clunky. But this has a split prism right in the middle, and it goes horizontally instead of vertically or diagonally. This camera itself, it's seen some better days, but there's a little bit of paint that's been worn off and a little bit of brassing that's going on around the edges. There are a couple of dents in the body as well, but it's still completely light tight, totally fine, doesn't affect the pictures at all. Yeah. Geez, what else is there to say about this thing? I mean, it's great. It weighs, it weighs a ton. It weighs like something like 4 or 5 pounds, I think. So if you're gonna get one of these, a strap is absolutely a need. You definitely need one. you're using a camera from, I think, the 60s or 70s was when these were produced. I'll put up the correct date somewhere around here. So you're getting a really great selection of vintage glass that you'll be able to shoot with on this. It does have this 50mm prime that I'm shooting with, and that I've been shooting with mostly, has a zone focusing system on it. It's a little weird to get used to. I've only ever shot zone focusing with this thing once or twice, but it's okay. It's not too bad. I really like the lens. I've gotten a couple of adapters. I have a digital Nikon body, a D3100, that I throw this lens on all the time whenever I want to shoot faster with it, or a little bit more telephoto with a prime. The manual focus, the focus throw is nice. It's about, so if my thumb starts at 12 o'clock on infinity, it ends on right around 6 to focus all the way down to 2 feet. And this lens focuses from 2 feet to infinity, or 0.6 meters to infinity. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys why you need this little tab right here. So I'm going to go ahead and take the lens off and set the aperture to 5.6. So we'll twist it all the way over. So the lens is now off the body. You can see here the mirror's down, the shutter's closed and everything. Film's totally fine inside of it. And so with this little extension right here out, I'm going to take the lens, line it up all the way over, and then index it over to 1.4, and index it over to f16. And that's just letting the light meter inside know what exactly your aperture range is. On the underside of this camera you have an ISO slider for the light meter inside, and it goes all the way down from 12 ISO to 1600 ISO. Now I've never shot anything that slow or that fast on this. I tend to keep around between 100 and 400. Mostly because it's a little bit of a pain in the butt to get that thing to move. But it does move. The light meter is fantastic. It's very accurate. It's a needle in the middle and plus and minus. So the goal is obviously to get the needle right in the middle, and you can do that by changing the aperture or the shutter speed. Now the shutter speed is a ring right at the base of the lens, and so right here, I hope it focuses, right here is where you can tell the shutter speed setting itself. So there's this little tab right here on the underside of the lens, on the underside of the lens mount, and you can move that either up or down. Now the only thing that's a little bit annoying is that if you move it to a slower shutter speed, like 1/8 of a second or 1/15 of a second, the tab is right over top of the lens button, the button to dismount the lens, and so you'd have to switch back to a different shutter speed to take the lens off. There's also a mirror lockup button, which is very nice. I've used that a couple of times before, especially with night photography. You want to focus, get your settings all right and everything, and if you're shooting handheld, it's great. If you can brace yourself against something and you don't have a tripod with you maybe, it's a great little feature. Just throw the mirror lockup on, take the photo, and you're set. You do have to manually disengage the mirror lockup, which, if you're not used to, can also be a little bit fiddly, because it can be a little tough to get it up and down. So I'll just go ahead and take the lens off That way you guys can see the mirror going up and down. So right now the mirror's down, the mirror goes up, and then just putting it back down, just like that. So I bought this about a year and a half ago with a Vivitar Series 1 zoom lens. I think it was a 75 to 210 millimeter lens, f3.5. But that lens had a little bit of fungus in it. It was really long. It made everything super top heavy and super front heavy. So I haven't really shot with that too much. I do have a 135 2.8 prime lens for this as well. I really want to get the Nikon 105 2.8 and maybe the 85. But I wouldn't also mind getting a wider lens for this. I think that would be really nice as well. Yes, I got this on eBay about a year and a half ago, and I got it at the time for around $50 with the lens. These things are dirt cheap, and I mean they're built like tanks, but nobody really wants them, because why would you buy one of these if you can buy the Nikon F? Or something like a little bit more robust, I guess, a little bit more recognizable. So these have mostly fallen by the wayside, but their low price doesn't mean that they're bad cameras. They are fantastic. If you can get used to shooting with the shutter speed around the base of the lens mount, it is going to serve you for so long. And as long as you don't mind the little dings and brassing that happens around the edges, this camera is phenomenal. It'll last you forever. Yeah. So I think I'm going to stop talking and show you some of my work that I've done with this. So stick around to see some sample images. Most of these will have been done with this lens on it. There might be a couple in there that have been shot with either the Vivitar Series 3 or Series 1, did I say? I can't remember which one it was. The Vivitar zoom lens or the 135 2.8. So I will do a send-off now, I guess. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you stick around through the end of it, and subscribe if you want to see more. I have infinitely more free time on my hands now, so I might actually dedicate myself to making a couple more of these videos before I have to start doing things again that contribute to society. So, yeah. Until next time, thanks for watching.